Hi, my name's Matt, and I'm with Red Triangle Games, and over there is my buddy from a long time. His name is Nick Lasia, also known as Worthy.
Hello.
Together we made a game called Mr. Triangle's Maze, and it took us entirely way too long to make it. Today we're actually going to go through a list of questions that you guys might find interesting, because there's a huge amount of history with Mr. Triangle's Maze, and we'll clear the air on some of this stuff. Are you ready, Nick?
I'm ready.
Okay. What is your earliest memory of Mr. Triangle's Maze?
Oh, man. I think it's when it was for the first fight, the Gaujo fight. You gave the game to me because you wanted some help on designing the first boss. I think that was the first memory that I have. Well, it is the first memory that I have, is doing the first boss fight.
I made the game originally for an 8-bit contest for the OHR community, and I think it had like 8 levels. I remember this because I don't remember making the game. I remember it because I remember James Page did video walkthroughs of all 7 levels. So I remember the game because of that. I'm like, oh yeah, I did enter for that contest. So yeah,
Nice.
a very long time ago. So what other projects and collaborations do you think we've worked on together?
I helped you with a lot of the Mr. Triangle's adventure games. You make like 6 of them or something like that, or
Yeah,
or
but
4 or 5.
only one of them's any good.
Yeah. So I know I helped you with some mini games / bosses on that. We also did Smokey Magoo's adventure.
That was our first project together.
Was it?
Yep. There was the
That's the fun one.
what was it called? The simulation contest. And we kind of interpreted it stupidly because we basically simulated using an axe. Which was not entirely correct for the theme. But yeah, I remember Smoking Magoo. This was the first time we kind of linked up. I remember I was looking for a partner. You wanted to make something, and so we just went with it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And then Gargan and Troy, we did that in 48 hours.
Oh, I forgot about Gargan and Troy. That was a good one.
Most of that game was made in a day, if you remember. Like, you had something to do.
Oh yeah, I was traveling the next day. Yeah, so we blasted through that in 1 day.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about.
And let's see, there's some other stuff. Those are the 2 main ones. And then there's a bunch of them that we started but we never finished, like Copter Challenge.
Love that game.
But because Copter Challenge never got made, you said you put a lot of those mechanics into Mr. Triangle's Maze, is that right?
Yeah, I had to get revenge. I was pretty pissed at you for not finishing Capture Challenge. I love that game.
He wouldn't talk to me for so long because I just didn't do Copter Challenge the way he wanted to. And it was a thing. But we're not there anymore. Like 20 years later.
Capture Challenge, yeah.
Alright. How did you feel after making this game with me for a long time when you found out the game was basically a love letter to Chip's Challenge?
I was pretty sad. I thought this was all like an original concept and things like that. I never heard of or played Chip's Challenge.
Things.
So then I looked at I remember as soon as you told me that, I looked at like a YouTube video or some screenshots. I'm like, oh, this is just almost plagiarism. This is like exact Chip's Challenge. But obviously it's not. I mean, all of the levels are our own unique designs and we have unique mechanics and everything. But I didn't quite see how similar it was to that. But I still like it.
Yeah, I like ours. I don't think there's boss battles in Chip's Challenge. And there's a few different things about it. Like, I think you collect chips, and ours you just try to find the exit. Like, there's no other parameters besides just get to it. And that one, it was like, you can't get to the exit unless you get 100 chips or something. So, somebody asked me, what's the history of Mr. Triangle? Mr. Triangle is a character that I created in 2001 when a friend of mine spent the night at my house. And we were trying to make other friends of ours laugh in high school. And because of that, it was, obviously a very immature thing. So I like to think that between Mr. Triangle's Adventure and Mr. Triangle's Maze, I've kind of modernized Mr. Triangle and kind of made him not necessarily a likable guy, but not a terrible guy anymore. So
I like him.
Yeah. I spent a long time not liking him. And, now I'm happy to see the 2 best ideas that we've had, and this is like the kind of cherry on top, so I'm happy with that.
Nice.
This next one is kind of for both of us because we share some of it. There's 4 bosses or 5 bosses plus the creator. What is the history of those bosses? Like, which bosses do you remember?
I remember. I think Gaujo wasn't he in Smokey Magoo's Adventure,
Yes,
and probably another one of your games. I'm guessing.
I put him in everything.
Okay. The Wolf, is that from Gargan and Troy?
Yes.
Yep. So that one's from Gargan and Troy, which I was a part of. I don't remember. Celican, I think, was from one of the Mr. Triangle's adventures.
Celican was from the first game I ever made, and it was called Axel. It was just a game I made based on a comic book from when I was a kid, and he's just this bony guy. He lived inside of a briar patch or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I just thought he looked really cool, so he kind of stuck with me.
And then Trilo's yours, the creator. Yeah, I think those were all yours. Some other games.
And Slither was from one of the earlier Mr. Triangle games. I thought he was so cool as a computer virus, and he just fit right in with this game.
Yep.
He's literally a virus. Spoiler alert. So those are all the bosses. Obviously, 2 of those are from games that we worked on together. What was the inspiration with making those fights? Because that's all you, man. Like I probably gave you a loose concept, and I think you listened to it, and then you said, "Nah, man, what about this?"
Oh man, I just I don't know. Like I love designing boss fights when I play games. I feel just like boss fights are super epic, and I love the feeling that they give gamers when you're just like super intense. You're at the edge of your seat. And you're only like a couple hits left on the boss, or you got 1 hit left, you're gonna die, and just that like intensity that you feel. So I love like giving that emotional state to gamers, and through bosses, you can just kind of create that epicness that achieves that. So I don't really have any other kind of motivation other than I'm like just super passionate about it, and I try to find like unique fights that are different and not commonly used out there. So that was definitely my favorite part of the game, was designing the bosses.
Wasn't Gaujo... I think it's Smokey Magoo. You fight Gaujo on a pirate ship, and he blows bombs at you, and I think you basically push the bombs back at him. Is that right?
I don't remember the fight. I mean, you're definitely right. It was on the ship. I don't remember the mechanics of the fight for Smokey Magoo. It's been a while. You could be right with that.
And then
I don't remember 100%.
The original Wolf had oil, because there's oil from Gargan and Troy when you're racing him.
So the original Wolf fight, which unfortunately with one of the updates of OHR, it just stopped working because like it got too buggy. I don't know if you remember, there was like that original Wolf fight that I designed first.
It always
and
broke
that used
everything.
and that like used the oil mechanic. Like I love that fight. The fight was like a really, really good fight, but it just stopped working. So we had to start from scratch. But I mean, I like the new fight even more. But so I don't think the new fight really has much to do with the Gargan and Troy one.
It has nothing to do with Gargan and Troy. It's
Yeah.
just you had a bunch of really awesome ideas and you went with it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I contacted James. For those who don't know who James is, that's Soda Piggy. He wants to know what our least favorite and most favorite bosses were to program, and which one's our favorite one to play.
So the favorite one to program and the least favorite one to program, was
Yeah.
that the question?
Yeah.
They're all fun to program. I love programming. I honestly can't even rank them. I mean, to me, the coding, it's all like this kind of the same for them all. So I can't really rank that. My favorite one, either the Wolf Boss or Celican. I think those are probably my two favorite ones to play.
I know there's other more impressive ones. I like the Gaujo fight because I feel like the Gaujo fight sets a tone that the game carries from that moment forward. And it's just fun. It's a puzzle. It's not really like a straightforward action battle. It's a puzzle, and you know right then and there that when you have these encounters, you're gonna have to think through it and also be quick.
Yep.
I just think the tone of Gaujo is fantastic.
Nice.
So let's see. So we spent a long time with this old game, and it had a lot of old music in it that we couldn't release. Are you happy with the soundtrack, even though there are no orchestral Sonic the Hedgehog 3 boss themes in it anymore?
I am. I'm definitely happy with where we landed, and I do love the boss theme that we have. And I think even in the Wolf for Phase 2, it increases in epicness a little bit. I mean, obviously, I don't think anything is as good as the Sonic 3 remixes that I found because I had like the standard Sonic 3 boss music, then there was a super epic orchestral music, and every boss
so many
during
of
phase 2, it would go to that, and I miss those days. But that being said, you did a very good job with whoever you worked with. I think was it James?
It was James. Literally, the last question was, "That's our composer."
Yeah. So he did a fantastic job with that. That was one of the things I was most picky with, and he did a really, really good job.
Yeah, it was tough for a while because he has to program it all. Like it's like how you program a boss battle when you do everything in Fama Tracker. It's like you're programming each thing one at a time. It's not like just hitting a piano and running with it. It's like he has to program each hit. So when you hated something, it was really frustrating. I know.
Yeah.
But everyone got happy.
Yeah.
So we talked about the wolf boss a little bit. The wolf boss has a very steep difficulty curve compared to Gaujo. Why is that?
So this, I think, was just the order of operations. So, first we did Gaujo, and then we did the original wolf boss, which is no longer available. And then we did Celican and Trigula, then the Crater. So it kind of like ramped up in difficulty. So this wolf boss that the players play now was actually the very last boss that we designed and created for the game. So I think probably just in my mind, I'm like, okay, this is the last hurrah, and I really want to make this like a super epic battle, because for me, it was like the last boss that I was creating. For the game, it was just the second boss, so that's a bit kind of, I guess, unfortunate how it all shaked together, but that was a big reason for the difficulty jump there. But we added in the iron armor, though, so that should level the playing field a little bit.
When we met for the very first time.
Yeah.
Yep, you can't. Yeah. And I said, you know what? You don't have to, because I'm like, oh, this fight's so hard. It's so hard. It's so hard. And it's the second boss. It's so unbalanced for the rest of the game.
Have you ever beat that boss?
Yeah.
Without the iron armor?
No, not without it. Not without it. The iron.
You want to beat it? No, definitely not.
The iron armor made it. I kind of feel a little bad that we nerfed the iron armor and gave it an extra hit, but people were struggling, and it makes sense because it's the second boss. So. And there's also the choice now to do it the way you wanted to, which I know a lot of the level designs that you had and a lot of mentalities you had was you were a big Battletoads. Like, that was the thing that you kept talking about a lot when we were making this game. Battletoads was like this super tough game that just really inspired you. So I figure like that's the kind of the vibe you were going with. Is that right?
Yeah, I love the feeling of when you finally beat like a really challenging boss, like a challenging boss or obstacle, but one that's fair. So yeah, 100%. Like, I like the challenge of it, and I tried to design the bosses so they weren't frustrating. So it wasn't like a really long 10-minute fight that you died minute 8, you had to start all the way over. I tried to like create checkpoints throughout the battles or whatever, so it wasn't frustrating. But yeah, I know I love those really hard challenges because just the feeling you get when you beat them is satisfying.
You even do that with the levels, like when they almost feel like they're getting ready to be too long, and then you die, and you're like, oh, and you don't want to play anymore, and then it's like, oh, there's a checkpoint. Oh, there's a hint about a secret wall to walk through to get through a checkpoint. It's like, oh.
Yeah,
well, that's pretty awesome.
I try to be really conscious of that, because that's like super frustrating me when you die in a game and you spend so much time just backtracking. So creating those checkpoints, it allows then us to make the gameplay more challenging, because when they die, it's not as big of a setback. So
yeah, I agree. Every time when I was testing the levels, a long time ago, back when we would do Skype calls before Discord was ever a thing, we would do Skype calls, and you would like hearing me get upset in the calls. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You'd be like, I need to see your screen, and I need to hear what you're saying. And, and I was much younger then, so I was a lot more emotionally
charged,
triggered.
Yeah.
So when something terrible happened, every moment was a rage quit moment.
Yeah.
But we're not there anymore.
Right.
We're older. So there's a lot of gimmicks in the game. There's like the switches, like the buttons you can step on. There's all of the suits that are inspired from Chip's challenge. Do you have a favorite gameplay gimmick in the game?
Ooh, that's a good question.
There's a bunch. I don't think it's the switches.
I really like the crack tiles. I don't know why. I like that mechanic a lot. I thought that was kind of unique, and it was fun to design puzzles around. Just the concept that you can walk over a tile once or twice, and then you can't walk over it anymore. I really liked the levels that I designed with that mechanic. I think it was like in the level 20s. That was a lot of fun.
They were purple so that would be Celican. Yeah, 20s.
Yep.
I always thought the RCC bot was like super impressive. Even all these years later, I see it and it works so well, and I'm like, this is just awesome.
So he by far, I guess getting back to James's question earlier about like what did I dislike the most programming bosses, like those were all fun. I hated the RCC bot. Like programming him, it was like the bane of my existence. Like trying to make it so everything would work, so like you could get on a conveyor belt, and even if you were switching cameras while moving on conveyor belts, that worked. Making like the ice work, and just all that stuff. And then like the lava, like when he gets into the lava, how you can jump on him and then get on and off on staircases, like that was just an absolute nightmare.
Those were all your ideas.
Yeah, I know. I absolutely like hate it. Like I agree that I love the mechanic, but I just have like I have like night terror sometimes thinking about coding all that and all the bugs.
It makes it hard for you to appreciate now, knowing how much work you had.
Well, just because. Well, yeah, because I would be testing and there'd be so many issues. So now when I play it, I'm just like tense because I'm just waiting for a bug to pop up. You know what I mean? Because I just like that's all I remember is how many bugs would pop up, and then it was just so complicated to deal with. But
he holds up so good. Like I'm constantly impressed. For all these years, I thought that was like the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a favorite level in particular? It's okay if you don't remember the number. Like if you just remember.
Oh, I remember the numbers. Level 50 and level 55. Those are my two favorite levels.
The virus levels, and the final creator level, and the ultimate virus level.
Yep.
I don't remember the number of it, and I should because I recorded a YouTube video of playing that level a few years ago. But I like this. It's like this level where it's like this giant square. And you got to use like I think it's a wolf level maybe, because I think it's orange. And you gotta like there's like a big conveyor belt running around the whole thing. You gotta get the speed boots. I'm gonna look it up and I'll put it in the video. But I always love that video or that level because I always think it's so clever the way everything's used at that moment. Like I don't know. You were really good about incorporating all the different elements, and then when it came time to make my levels, it was just like, man, you suck at it.
No. We were pretty balanced.
Yeah, people play all these tough as nails levels, and then they play another dumb RMZ level.
No.
Oh, there's a bunch of boxes to push to get. And then, I got it. Let's make a room full of exits, but we won't tell anyone what the real one is.
That's a good level, man.
That's an RMZ level, everyone. That's because I couldn't follow up. So. This game took 15 years to make. Why did it take us that long?
It's mainly my fault. I just got busy with. We both did, but definitely me more so than you. Just after I graduated, I started opening up businesses and just kind of got sucked into that. And then like I'd be ready, but you'd be busy, then you'd be ready, and I'd be busy, and it just our times never synced up. So really, even the reason the game's even out is primarily because of you. This past year, you've been pretty diligent with doing all the final bug testing and stuff like that. So hats off to you on that.
Yeah. I think it was, like you said, like it was just a lot of life happened, and we weren't able to line up like we did in 2008, 2009, like since then. It's crazy that it's been 15 years though. That's the crazy part. Like that's wild. That's almost like half of our lives. And it's just weird that we couldn't get together. I mean, it's a good thing that we didn't. Because the game is obviously significantly better for that. The art's better, the code's better, everything's better. If we had finished it in 2009, the game would be trash and no one would love it.
Right.
It wouldn't be trash, but it would not be as preserved in the best possible light.
Right.
So, I kind of said something a little bit about it, but what do you think has changed about the game during that time?
Well, one, you redid all the artwork, and it looks fantastic now, so hats off to you on that. I feel like we finished like most of the game previously, and I don't think the levels changed all that much. You would know more than me, but I think the game was like probably 90% done like 12 years ago. Yes. And then we essentially redid the wolf boss, and you redid all the art and got rid of all the bugs and stuff like that. But every time, not much of it has changed.
Every time we would open a new version of OHR, something else would be broken.
Yeah.
And then we couldn't release the game because the wolf fight was just dead. And I think it took a while for us to figure out, hey, we want to finish this game. To do that, we gotta do something about the wolf fight. And you just said, hey man, screw it, let's just redo it all together.
Yeah.
And I know I know the art's different, obviously, but in my mind, the wolf changing was pretty huge.
Yeah.
But art is probably the most notable because it's just it's visual. But yeah, like you said, like the game was 99% done. You had Slitherface 2 in there. You left all the little hooks for me to go add the intro and the outro and all that stuff, and just life happened, man.
Yeah.
But we beat life this time.
We finally did.
We conquered life.
Right.
What is one of your favorite memories of making this game?
Oh man, probably all the times that we would hop on, like you said, Skype earlier, and I'd either watch you do the levels that I made or fight the bosses that I made, and that was definitely the highlight. Like for me, I get so much gratification watching somebody play a game that I made or fight a boss that I designed or something like that. That's just like an immense amount of satisfaction. So probably all those Skype calls we had were my favorite parts.
It sucks that I was the only playtester then, because
I had
wasn't
my brother
very
and
good.
stuff.
That's
I
good.
had my brother and stuff play it here,
That's
like
good.
in person and things like that. And then I had some friends over a couple years ago, and they were playing Celican, and they like really loved it. So I've had some people like close to me do it, but yeah. So it's really fun seeing some of the reviews coming in, like the video reviews and stuff. It's like super fulfilling.
Yeah, that's cool. I think for me, I think the Skype things were good. I know for me personally, it was like shortly after I moved out of my parents' house and I had my apartment. So it was like I would stay up as late as humanly possible, and we would be on Skype, and we'd just be going back and forth, back and forth. I'd go to work, and then you would be off during the day, and then I'd come home at night, and we'd link up, and it was just, I just remember we were like totally in sync for that whole year, and it was intense and it was fun, and just a lot of anger and a lot of joy.
Yeah.
What are you the most proud of about this game?
That's a good question. I think just the fact that it's out. This is the first like full game, other than some like DOS games I made when I was a kid. But I've started so many games, countless games. I mean, I guess we did Gargan and Tori and Smoking Magoo, but this is like I feel like the first like major project, like big game that I've ever done and finished. So probably just the fact that it got actually completed.
I think one of the coolest things about it, and that's obviously a very big thing. Like we said, a lot of life happened in between the game. I think it's easy for people to not stay in touch as life goes on, and I think my favorite part about the game is that even when we weren't talking about the game, it kept our friendship together, and it allowed us to kind of keep going after the game's over. So I mean, I love the game because it just made us better friends.
Yep.
And that's cool. I mean, I don't know that you would have came to my house back earlier this year had we not had like the friendship we maintained because of making this game.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or we wouldn't have played Raft.
Well said. Right. A lot of fun memories there.
We're not going to talk about Raft in this video.
Fair enough.
Raft is also a game full of anger and joy.
Right.
So, if you made this game today, what would you do differently? Besides everything.
Oh man. I probably would make some of the levels shorter and some of the puzzles shorter. Like definitely, just thinking for myself, some of the ones that I designed, the puzzles I feel like were a little long, or a little intense. So I probably just would have made some of those shorter, and then I would have done more boss battles. I probably would have pushed for like every 5 levels to do a boss.
That would be insane. Oh my god. That would be awesome though, but it would be insane.
What about you?
Oh man. I'm surprised you didn't say the first thing would be do it in a different engine. I'm surprised that wasn't something you said. If I had to do the game differently today, I don't think I would even I don't know what I would do differently, to be perfectly honest, like, because I'm pretty happy with it. Art-wise, I would have done the same kind of art. And the puzzles, like, most of what makes this game clever is you, so it's like, it doesn't really matter as long as, like, we were doing it together, it would be the same game, because it would still be clever.
Right.
So that's Mr. Triangle's Maze, kind of in a nutshell. My final question: what are your plans for game development in the future?
I don't know. It's always been like one of my biggest passions. Even before I met you, I was making games in ZZT. I don't know if you ever heard of ZZT, that game engine, but it was like little DOS games with like all little ASCII symbols or whatever. But I don't know. It's probably been my biggest life passion. It's just so much freaking work, as you know more than me. Just all the polishing and everything. So I was just talking with you right before this call. Like for me, as I've said many times, even just on this call, like creating like really fun, engaging, intense bosses is like one of my favorite things. So I don't know. I'm flirting with the idea of just like designing, like I have so many ideas of bosses, but like a really fun, intricate boss battle. Just have like that be the game itself, and just put it up on Steam for free, and just see if it does well or whatever. But if I could do something like that, like just design boss battles, I don't think I have the time or the willpower to get through an entire long game with like a storyline and all that kind of stuff. But just creating like those wolf type moments, or Celican, and like I could do that all day, every day, and be super happy. So if I could somehow do that, then I would love to dive back into game development. What about you?
Let's figure out a way to get you to do that, man.
Yeah.
I've been making a lot of games for a really long time. I'm kind of easing my way out, but I think if I'm gonna make another game, I'm gonna try to do something that I've never done before, like learn new parts of the OHR that I've never done. Like I'm learning different code, because I don't want to have to rely on anyone to do anything. I want to actually expand my knowledge of stuff, which I encourage more people to do when you're doing stuff. Don't just seek out a coder. Like try to find someone that's going to teach you, because when they do it, you don't learn anything. So I think if I do game design like aggressively, I'm gonna just keep kind of applying myself and learning more.
There you go. It's a good philosophy.
Study from the master over there.
Right. Well, Mars here if you need any help.
Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this this video retrospective about Mr. Triangle's Maze. There was a lot of time that went into making this game, and even more time that's spent with it on the shelf until it got to this moment. So thanks for playing it, and thanks for being interested and asking us about it all these years. Like there's people that email Red Triangle Games or post on the Facebook or whatever. They're all like, "When's Mr. Triangle's Maze coming out?" And I know you've had people do it, like ask you in person. So it's just really cool to be able to say, "Hey, we finally did it. We finished it."
Right. Cheers to that.
So thanks everybody.
Yep. Thanks guys.